Hey, good evening, everybody. How is everybody doing today? I'm so excited to be here with you guys. I'm hoping that you could hear me. If you can, please drop an emoji or a heart and let me know that you can hear me and I'm not talking to myself. But today I wanted to share a little something with you guys on chronic pain and why I find it to be wisdom. I always feel like the universe gives you exactly what you need. Hey, thank you for joining. And I know that for anybody going through chronic pain right now, like I was in the past, I've been pain free for some time now. But when I was going through chronic pain, the last thing that I wanted to hear somebody say is that chronic pain is wisdom because chronic pain is no joke. For anybody has ever experienced chronic pain, it is excruciating pain that lasts for 2 months or more, which is why it's considered chronic because it's ongoing pain. And I wanted to describe what it was because, to be quite honest, when I was going through this, hey Canela, when I was going through this, I had no idea that this is what I was going through because I never heard of chronic pain before. So chronic pain is any sort of excruciating pain that can last for at least 2 months or more. And it includes things like intense headaches, migraines, nerve pain, autoimmune disease symptoms tied to fibromyalgia, shooting pain, numbing, tingling, lupus, multiple sclerosis symptoms, extreme fatigue. Like, I'm not just talking about you're tired. I'm talking about the type of tiredness where you will sleep for 2 days straight, wake up and feel like you haven't slept a goddamn bit. That's what I mean by chronic fatigue. I'm not talking about you take a nap and you're going to be all right. No, chronic fatigue, fatigue that puts you out for days. Stomach issues, gallbladder issues, IBS, endometriosis, and also joint pain, muscular issues like knee pain, shoulder, neck, back pain, sciatica, all those things and more. So, just to give you a little idea of what chronic pain is. And for anybody experiencing that type of pain, it can be very debilitating because one thing about chronic pain is that it's not visible to people. So a lot of people don't know you're experiencing this because people who suffer with chronic pain tend to be people who don't want people to feel sorry for them and they're great at masking their emotions. And so they cancel plans or they're just so debilitated that they basically are in bed or they're pushing through. And because they're pushing through, you think that everything's okay. They wear their makeup, they look cute because, again, they don't want people to know that something is wrong with them. Um, and then it's also it messes with your mental too because people who have dealt with chronic pain tend to be strong people who can take a lot of pressure, people who are like the fixers in the family, people who are just the go-to people for everybody. And so it can be very debilitating when you are so independent and then you get hit with chronic pain, your life just changes and you really just want the pain to end and you just want your life back. You just want to live the life that you once lived before all this chronic pain started. And I have some notes here because I don't want to miss any of these points that I want to touch on here today. Um, but for my people who are experiencing chronic pain, a lot of times, or at least for myself, I was wondering, like, the question often came up for myself of like, why am I going through this? Like, what is happening? Like, why is my body breaking down on me? I felt like my body was turning on me. And I was like, what the hell is going on? There was nothing I could do to fix it. The doctors couldn't diagnose it. The tests weren't helping. And then at least for myself, when I finally got a diagnosis, it still didn't help because it was just a diagnosis and the pain wouldn't stop. And you were basically just, you had just basically two options: take medication for the rest of your life. It may help, it may not help, or just suffer through the pain. And that's it. That this is gonna be your new normal. Like, this is literally like, forget about the life you had before. This is gonna be your new normal of pushing through, of just adding this to the agenda, to your calendar, because this is just how you be living life from now on. And I was like, what? Like, there has to be a better way, because this is not it. So when I went down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out, like, where is all of this coming from? Like, where is, like, what is causing all of this? And I'm one of those people that I need to know why things are happening. I'm just like, my brain is wired that way. Like, I need to know why so that I could solve the problem, because I'm a solver. And so it like takes you down this deep dive, and you start to understand the way that the body works, and you start to understand that the body, the mind, and your nervous system are all connected. And I remember I used to hear so much talk about the nervous system. You have to regulate your nervous system and your cortisol levels and this and that. Even my therapist used to tell me about it, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, ain't nobody got time for all of that. But when I started diving deep into, like, why so many people are stressed out, why so many people have chronic illness, chronic pain, autoimmune diseases, it's like, it was like, wow. Like, this whole new world opened up for me. And I'm like, it's like, you can no longer unsee it. Like, you see the world through a whole new set of eyeglasses. Like, it's crazy. And so I started wondering, like, why am I experiencing this? And it came down to this, right? It was a hard pill to swallow. It really was. But it came down to this is all happening because of the choices that you've made in your life. And like I said, it was a hard pill to swallow. Like, you are here because of the choices that you have made and the choices that you have not made. So I'm going to break down what that means. As I mentioned before, a lot of people who tend to have issues like this are people who are people pleasers, people who are fixers, control freaks, perfectionists, people who say yes when they really mean no, people who don't want to disappoint people, people who are the pillars, the strong ones, the super women. A lot of these types of people suffer with these kind of things. Not all, but a lot of them. Burnout is a huge one. And when I started wrapping my brain around that, of like, chronic pain, at the end of the day, now that I'm on the other side of the journey where I'm pain free, chronic pain is wisdom, because chronic pain is your body communicating to you, and it's telling you, that's it, no more. Like, you've been talking for me, you've been the one, having the power of how I roll. Basically, this is my body talking to me of how I roll, and you literally have no respect for me because you say yes to everything, even though you don't want to do it. You don't rest. You think that you're Superwoman. You don't accept help. And my ass is tired. I don't know about you, but I'm tired. And every time I try to give you a signal to slow down and to rest, and that signal is through a migraine, that signal is through nerve pain, that signal is through neck pain, that signal is to chronic fatigue, that signal is through brain fog, the signal is through severe headaches, the signal is to cognitive failure. Like, you literally can't think straight because your brain hurts. Like, you are so burnt out that you're literally functioning on like a single thread. Like, there's nothing left, but you're still going, like if you have a full tank of gas. And your body is telling you, that's it, I'm done. And because you don't listen, and you keep going and you keep going, you keep going, the body's like, all right, so this bitch is really not gonna listen. We're gonna throw everything we have at her to see if she's finally gonna stop her shit. Because when you are hit with chronic pain, pain that keeps you up at night, pain that you can't even smile through anymore, pain that makes you literally jump off your sofa because it's excruciating pain and you don't understand why it's happening, you feel like you're going crazy, you are forced to listen. You are forced to sit your ass down and listen. You are forced to take notice. You are forced to really rewind and go back and figure out what choices you made that have gotten you here. Why do you feel that you have to put everybody before you? Why do you feel that you have to please everybody? Why do you feel that you have to be the go-to person for everything? Why do you feel that you cannot not answer your phone when somebody calls you? Why do you feel that you cannot put your phone on do not disturb? Why do you feel like you cannot take a nap? Why do you feel like you can't rest? Why do you feel like people can't figure shit out on their own unless you are involved and unless you have some sort of say or input in how things happen? Like, where is that coming from? Like, why is it that you're not allowing people to do things themselves? Why are you not allowing people to figure things out? Because you at one point had to figure things out, right? You at one point had to figure things out. So why are you not allowing for your loved ones to do the same thing? Because people, sometimes people are not asking of you, or they're not asking of you out of malice. It's of their default setting, right? But people will do what to do. So if you want to set a boundary and be like, no, figure it out yourself, Google, or don't call me when this, or how about you take my number off of your, how about you pin my number? How about you take it off your Facebook list? Because I just don't have the capacity no more. How about you start using your voice to say no? So people who deal with chronic pain, that's a tough pill to swallow, because we're over here focusing on the actual symptom of like the shooting pain, the numbness, the tingling, the headaches, the back pain, the neck pain, the if the feeling of being electrocuted for like hours. And you're just in so much pain, and you're focused on how do I make that stop? How do I make that stop? When in reality, what a lot of people don't want to face is the fact that the chronic pain is coming from a dysregulated nervous system, of high cortisol levels, of you being on edge, of you being like, you know, in basically survival mode. I know that we keep hearing that word a lot, but that's literally what it is, of you being alert all the time, of you being on all the time, of your brain not shutting off, of your brain problem solving all the time, fixing things, reading, analyzing, doing all the things, and you not resting, you not taking the time to actually allow joy into your life without guilt. And it's a tough pill to swallow, because people who experience chronic pain, a lot of us are control freaks. And it's like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Like, I'm just going to keep pushing. I don't want to hear that. But when you are on the other side of chronic pain, you, like I said, you start to understand, and you start to see this as wisdom. You start to see this as your body speaking to you and communicating to you through these symptoms, so that you can finally tend to it. Because at the end of the day, in order for you to get past this, you have to surrender. And surrender is hard for people who love to control things, and people who are the strong ones, and people who are perfectionists. Like, Surrendering is almost impossible. But you have to surrender and you have to start becoming curious as to, again, how did I get here? Because at the end of the day, this is going to hurt, but it's the truth. You are the problem. It's you. You are the problem. Because you're the one who's not speaking up for yourself. You're the one who is allowing people to treat you like a doormat. You are the one who is not resting. You are the one who chooses to always be that person for everybody. But in all of that chaos and storm, you are forgetting the most important person, and that is you. You are abandoning yourself, and your body is trying to stop you from abandoning yourself. Your body wants you to give it attention, to give it love, to give it care, to nurture it, to give it softness, to do something for yourself for once, to fill your cup. Because when you are dealing with chronic pain, what is happening is your emotional reservoir in your body has is overflowing. And so once it caps and it starts to overflow, that's when the pain starts to happen. So you have to start doing things to tend to yourself and to provide softness for your life and to do things that are going to allow you to calm down and allow you to regulate. But because we're over here worrying about everybody else and doing the most, that's the last thing on our mind. But what we're not understanding is by doing that, we're adding to the problem. And so your chronic pain gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And every time you do the opposite of what you should be doing, you're betraying yourself. You're abandoning yourself. You're not choosing yourself. You're choosing something else. You're not choosing your body. You're not choosing your mental health. You're not choosing yourself. You are abandoning yourself. And then you're wondering why your health is shit. Because your body cannot physically continue to keep up with the demand that you're putting on it. And because it's been happening for years, it's like a car, right? You're driving a car. And I'm not talking about a Toyota Camry. Like, we're talking about like a normal car. You've had it for 10, 20 years. You don't give it an oil change. You don't rotate the tires. You don't change your spark plugs. You don't change your windshield wipers. But you expect it to still run like when you first bought it. You barely wash it. And if you do, like, that's probably all you do. But you don't maintain it. And it's the same thing with your body. Like, how do you expect your body to keep functioning the way that it did when you were younger, now that you're older? But you're still giving it the same wear and tear, or probably even worse. You're probably putting in more miles now, because the older we get, the more demands we have. Sometimes some of us have kids, some of us have pets, demanding jobs, demanding careers, some of us have businesses. Some of us have management roles at work. We're leading teams. Some of us are dealing with older parents, so we're caregivers as well. Some of us have siblings, husbands, boyfriends, partners, and we have people depending on us. And so you kind of put that all in a box. And at one point, you're not going to be able to close the box because you're wearing all these hats. But the one thing you're forgetting about is the most important thing, and that's yourself. And the more that you pile on, the more responsibility you pile on, the more demands, the more picking up the phone, the more solving problems, the more living life, just lifing, the more you pile on, your body's like, hold on, espérate, like, can I just breathe? Can I take a nap? Can I sleep? Can I just like, whoosah? Like, So when you think about it, the stuff that we do to our bodies, we wouldn't even do to our friends. Like if we were to see our friends doing what we do to ourselves, we'd be like, girl, you're doing too much. Stop. But we don't do that to ourselves. We don't say that to ourselves because we've been in this rat race for so many years that to us is normal. And we don't recognize it as abnormal until you're finally hit with something like chronic pain, with the bulldozer of chronic pain. But why I say that it's wisdom now is again because it teaches you how to connect with your body, and it teaches you how to choose yourself first. And it teaches you of your what your capacity is, and it teaches you how to enforce boundaries. It teaches you how to speak up for yourself. It teaches you how to no longer put others before you. It teaches you to stop people pleasing. It teaches you to stand up for yourself. And it's crazy because before my chronic pain hit, I was already on a healing journey for years. And I really thought I was doing better. Like I was already enforcing boundaries. Like, the relationship between me and my husband was changing with me and the kids. They were giving, there was more like a shared responsibility. There was a lot of like, during this time, this is my me time. And like a lot of like expectations were created and enforced, and follow through was happening. And I was like, oh, I'm doing so well. I was resting. I was making sure I was having my morning routine, having a slow morning, meditating, exercising, walking. I felt like I was doing really well. Get with a ball of pain. Been happening to me years ago when life was crazy. And then I learned that the reason why it all started coming up for me now in my 40s is because my nervous system finally felt safe enough to decompress. And once it decompressed, it allowed me to feel all the feels. Because when you are on high alert and when you are on survival mode, you're basically surviving on high cortisol and adrenaline. So it's almost like when there's chaos happening or like a shootout and you get shot, you don't even know you're shot until like everything has happened. And then you start to feel the pain. So it's something similar, like once things die down, right? Once you're able to slow down, once you're able to start resting, once you're able to kind of have a slow life, it hits you like a bulldozer and you're like, uh, what is this? And so the explanation is that it couldn't have happened years ago because your body couldn't even feel it if it were to happen. Because it was using all its energy on keeping you safe. There was nothing left over for you to feel any of these symptoms, because even in my 20s, I was having some of these symptoms, but they weren't severe enough to catch my attention. Like I had my gallbladder removed in my late 20s. And now looking back, I remember that time in my life was very chaotic and very stressful. And stress has a lot to do with it. And so as I'm like going back in my life and looking, kind of just like hindsight is always 2020. And I'm like, I see why all those things were happening. Like back then I was getting really bad migraines and I just thought it was normal. But it was a highly stressful time in my life. And even like probably until a couple of years ago, I was getting migraines again. And that to me meant that it was just a high stress time. But when you start piecing all the little puzzles, when you start to piece all the pieces of the puzzle together, you're like, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. And for me, it was like a thing of shame. It was just like, wow, The choices that you have made and the choices that you didn't make is what has gotten you here. Like, this is all you. But the good thing about it is that you're also able, now that you know and you're so aware, now you're able to change you were able to change the trajectory. I can never say that word, of how things move going forward. Because there's more to the puzzle. But one of the major pieces to the puzzle is for you to see how you play a role in all of this, how the choices you've made play a role in this, how the abandoning yourself, the not taking care of yourself, the saying, oh, yes, I love myself, self care, self love, but then you don't even take a break. You don't say no. You keep saying yes. You keep picking up the phone, you keep showing up for people, you keep going above and beyond for other people, but then you neglect yourself. And after a while of doing that for for so long, it starts to catch up with you. It starts to really break down your body, and it starts to take a toll, because our capacity is no longer what it used to be, because again of added responsibility, life. So what you were able to handle in your younger years is not something you're going to be able to handle now, because life has changed. There's more responsibilities, is usually how it happens, right? So for me, chronic pain is wisdom. And it was something that, now that I'm on the other side, I always say how the universe always gives you what you need. It never gives you what you want. It always gives you what you need. And a lot of times what you need is not what you want. And I would have never picked chronic pain. But now that I'm on the other side of it, it's like I'm so much more wiser because of it. Because now I can't go through life without seeing what I know now. Like, there's no way of me continuing to abandon myself or continuing to put other people before me and act like I just don't know any better, because I do. Because the one thing is, when you experience chronic pain, you don't ever want to experience that shit again. Because for somebody who has very high tolerance for pain, I have a really high tolerance for pain. Your girl was like, what the hell is this? This ain't pain. This is on some other level shit. Like, there has to be a more excruciating word than pain, and that's what that is. Because it's not pain. Pain to me is a piece of cake. That, whatever that is some monstrous shit that I don't ever want to have to feel again. Like, not even for my worst enemy. Because that shit will have you on your knees. So if anybody is experiencing chronic pain, or you know anybody who's experiencing chronic pain, I wanted to give you a different perspective to kind of dig into yourself, to kind of explore a little more on yourself, on your own, to see, to try to go back in time. And it doesn't have to be far back. It can be as early as last week, yesterday. Think about the choices that you make. Think about the choices you've made that have gotten you to where you are today. And whatever symptoms it is that you're dealing with, whether it's the chronic fatigue, the nerve pain, the muscular pain, the neck, the back, the hip, the knee, the symptoms of lupus, fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, the headaches, the migraines. the gut issues, the gallbladder stones, the kidney stones, the GI, any sort of GI issues, any sort of pelvic issues. Like I want to leave you with, think about when that pain flare ups, what is going on in your life at the moment. And that's going to give you a starting point. It's going to really allow you to do a deep dive. It's like, whenever I'm feeling like this, I notice that this flares up, or I notice this symptom come on, or I notice this pain gets worse. Like, I want to leave you with that, because I want you to really, one of the things of getting past or having a breakthrough is ownership, accountability, right? You can only go but so far to blame other people for your circumstances. But we have to also understand that we play a role. We always play a role in the situation that we're in by the choices that we make and what we allow. Because again, people cannot do to you what you don't allow them to do to you, what you don't give them permission to do to you. And whether that's verbal permission or just you, by you not saying anything, is permission. By you not standing up for yourself, by you not using your voice. And I know for our community, that can be something that can be a little tough, because we grew up as like, you know, you don't pay bills around here, your voice doesn't matter, like what you have to say doesn't matter, like what is it, children are seen, not heard, you know. So a lot of us are not used to using our voice. We're not used to speaking up for ourselves. We're not used to saying no. We're not used to, like, especially females, because a lot of us in our culture have been brought up to be the nurturers, you know, the ones that always say yes, the ones that take care of everybody, you know, is typically the culture, right? So when you start becoming aware, exactly, awareness, when you start becoming aware, it's like, okay, I can still be that person, but I don't have to abandon myself in the process. I don't have to give 300% of myself all the time. I could allow for somebody else to step in and be the one to provide that day. It doesn't always have to be me. Even if that's always been you, there's still there's always still room for you to do different. Because if you want a different outcome, if you're looking to to live the life that you remember, to live a life that you love, it's going to have to start with you moving differently. It just is. Because I know people with chronic pain who have gotten surgeries and the surgery didn't do shit. They're still with the pain. And it's because of this emotional, neurological connection of the mind, the body, and the nervous system. And it's very interesting. I'm like a nerd or a geek. I love to geek out on stuff. Um, so again, I want to leave you with that. I want to leave you with, our bodies are always communicating to us all the time, all the time. Whenever you feel tired, whenever you feel nervous, like you get a pit in your stomach, or you feel like, you know, like little butterflies or whatever, that's your body talking to you. When you feel that intuition, that's your body talking to you. When you feel like you're in danger or something doesn't feel right, that's your body talking to you. Don't dismiss it. Like, do not dismiss it. Do not dismiss it. And so that's what I want to leave you with. I want you to see how this journey of chronic pain can be wisdom for you, how you have to start seeing your role in this journey of how you got here, right? And like I said, the good thing is that yes, you got yourself here, but you're also the one who can get yourself out of it. So there's power in it. There's power in the awareness. There's power in the journey, right? So contemplate that, contemplate and sit with that and see how what your body is trying to communicate to you, why it's trying to communicate those things to you. Give it a moment, give it the attention you give other people, even if it's just sitting with your body for 5 to 10 minutes, and see what it has to say to you. I want you to sit quiet enough so that you can pay attention, you can listen to it. And that's what I want to leave you with. Thank you, Canela, for joining. P-Time for joining. And if you have any questions, comment, sure that you share live. I'm going to be keeping it on my profile. So if you want to watch the replay, feel free. But thank you so much for joining me. And I will be also going live tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I can't wait to see you there too. So have a good evening. Bye. Thank you for the hearts.